Good afternoon, everyone. We're starting off Championship 4 day here in Homestead-Miami with the chairman and CEO of NASCAR, Brian France. He wants to touch on a couple things related to the racing the last couple days, certainly on Tony and one of our partners whose last day is today. So I'll turn it over to you, Brian, to kick things off.
Well, obviously we're very proud of Daniel Suarez last night in an unbelievable run and winning the championship. Historic for the sport in many ways. And I got some nice calls from people south of the border last night that are very proud of him, and we're very proud of him. And we're very proud that it validates our diversity plan in a significant way. So there's all kinds of conversations, and what we've said through the years is these things take time to find the kind of talent and that can actually compete at a high level on the biggest stages. And he's done that. And so we're very proud of him. And I would tell you, without the driver diversity, I can tell you with certainty, Daniel Suarez is not in NASCAR. He will tell you that. So we're very, very pleased with that program. And obviously pleased for today. And because Tony Stewart's final race with us, and we're going to wish him well. He put on one of the great performances I've ever seen a number of years ago with Carl Edwards and his ability to come back to the field and all that stuff. So he's had a great career with us. And then today, culminates what we are all excited about, which is the close, tight competition. And for all the media and everybody else who said, well, formats and different things, drivers race as hard as they can, and that really doesn't do much, right? And we now know that's not true, because last night, as an example, running consistently in the top 4 were the 4 drivers competing for the championship. And I bet today that you'll see those kind of performances come to the forefront. And I think, who knows, but probably going to have to win the race today to win the championship. And that's exactly what we like, and it's exactly what our fans like. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, we'll start over there with Jerry Jordan. We'll go to Greg Engel, and then over to Nate Ryan.
Brian, Jerry Jordan with the Performance Racing Network and Kicking the Tires. I think a lot of people in here are interested in the, you was mentioned that Sprint is going out, but also your perspective on the new entitlement search, and if you're happy with that process at this time.
Well, it's taking a little longer than I thought, but it's also a big agreement, and it's an important agreement. It's not just dollars and cents. It's a fit for us. So we're on the very, very short end, and we don't want to announce anything with certainly around this weekend. But we're in a good spot with that, I believe, and but we'll have to see how it finally plays out.
We'll go to Greg, Nate, and then Dustin.
Good morning, Mr. France. Greg Engel, CupScene.com. As you talk about this being a family sport and the family that is NASCAR, obviously you're at the head of that. Your family, starting with your grandfather and your father, built this sport. Can you talk about the legacy that you're going to be carrying on in the future? And also, when it comes to the history of NASCAR and the history of the sport, why should fans care about the history of the sport, and what would you tell the new fans and old fans about the history of the sport and how it relates and how its importance is to the future?
It's real simple. It's about the safest, most competitive form of racing in the world. It's that simple. And it evolves. Drivers, the equipment, the manufacturers, the speedways, evidence of Daytona this year, all evolve, and that's normal in sports. So. But that's the premise of it, and the premise of it also is it has to be a fair, balanced playing field where teams who compete and follow the rules have a real shot to win. Good, smart parity between the manufacturers and others, and we have that too. Evidence of the 3 manufacturers all in the chase Final 4 today. So that's really about as simple as it gets.
All right, we'll go to Nate and Dustin, and then over to Jeff Gluck.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Brian, kind of a two-part question on the economic health of the sport. Following up on the title sponsor question, you mentioned that it's taken longer than you expected. Why has it taken 23 months to find a title sponsor? And then secondly, how do you view the current state of the team business model? There are signs of more consolidation in the garage with teams potentially dropping cars, laying off employees. And in light of that, would you consider reducing charters or field size if it
No,
comes to that?
The first part of that question, it's a complicated agreement, and we typically don't start that in the 24 months out. By the way, it's not how it works. But I'm confident we're going to end up in a really good spot. The other part of that is normal. You've got teams that compete at a high level, do well. You have some teams that for whatever the reasons, can't compete at such a high level, and they may have some problems, and that's throughout our history. Not abnormal at all.
We'll go to Dustin, Jeff, and then over to Louis Frank.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Brian, here in the middle. I'm here. Right here. Right here in the middle.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Brian, as you celebrate your first foreign driver winning the NASCAR championship, certainly there will be those who will raise questions about your support earlier this year of the President-elect Donald Trump, and certainly with...
Stop you right there. First of all, nobody wants to hear my political views. Not one person in this stage wants to hear from me politically. And so I won't be talking about that. But on my diversity, nobody in this company has worked harder, done more, and resourced it better than me. I founded the Diversity Council. I fought for every single thing that makes sense, because that's my core belief about diversity is very, very important. I talk about it frequently, and my efforts there should never be challenged, no matter what my political views might be. That's a ridiculous thing to do.
We'll go next to Jeff, Louis, and then Lee Spencer.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. I'm over here in the middle also.
Okay.
TV ratings have declined for most of the chase races, and few of the races have been sellouts. Do you believe that this format is resonating with the fan base?
Yeah, you're seeing TV ratings slide all over the place in sports, right? You're seeing all kinds of things happen in TV ratings. And, for big events, they go one way, they slide over digitally. The digital audience is consuming things different. We're no different from that. There's not a surprise on that. Attendance has been fine. And, we come off weather issues like we did in Phoenix a year ago. We don't have Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt. So needless to say, there's going to be a little impact there. But Phoenix had a huge crowd. We'll sold out today here. So we're it could always be better, but we're pleased with where we're at.
Louis Frank, and then down here to Lee, and then over to Holly Kane.
Louis Frank of Reuters. Brian, the NFL and NASCAR have similar challenges, but you also have conflicts, being that they play a lot on Sunday, and here the championship is Sunday. Do you and Roger Goodell or people in your various organizations have discussions on how to, A, reduce conflicts, B, to solve similar
Yeah, we do.
problems?
We have a good relationship with all the leagues. I personally have good relationships with the various commissioners, and we can't always figure out everything, but we have good conversations, and generally speaking, especially on issues with safety, we're happy to help anybody in that area, which we have, by the way, and scheduling or all the rest. We have good relationships, but they got a business to run, and so do we, so it doesn't always work out.
We'll go down front here with Lee, and then Holly Kane, and then over to Bob Pockrass.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Has any additional thought been given to adding bonus points or something to the winner of the regular 26 race season?
Yeah, Lee, we're going to think about that. I think that's a fair thing for us to consider, to make sure that the regular season is as important as it is. So I think that I don't know exactly how we'll do that, but we'll look at that.
And has there been any more discussion about bringing in additional manufacturers? Thank you.
Yes, but we're not in a position to make that announcement.
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. Just wondered if you could maybe talk about the charter system, having had a full year, kind of your thoughts on it, how you see it evolving, and
Charters are going to be, Holly, a long process for us. We got it done. That's the most important thing. But forget the value part of it, and the things that we're going to be able to do are going to take many, many years to achieve our end goal, which is to really lower costs in the industry by working with our interests better aligned with the teams. That's number one. Which will affect their values going forward. But some of the things are not going to change, of course, like you got to compete at a high level, you've got to get sponsorship, you've got to have a manufacturing relationship, and those things don't change, and nor should they. But the benefit of collectively working together, in particular to get the rules packages both better and more exciting for the fans and much lower cost over time, it's the hardest thing in racing to do. And frankly, few ever achieve it, or at least consistently achieve it. And we are after that deal. We couldn't do that without the teams aligned together with us like they are. Okay?
Okay, we'll go to Bob, then Claire B. Lang, and then Chris Knight.
Bob Hawkers, ESPN. I understand that ratings are down in all sports, but nothing impacts it more than in NASCAR, where the teams rely on it to find sponsorship. Your attendance is down. You still haven't announced a series sponsor for next year.
Let me stop you. Look, what you don't realize, or don't, maybe you do realize, we report our attendance, right? And we have publicly traded companies, and we don't have publicly financed facilities for the most part. All the other leagues have that benefit, so they can discount tickets, give them away, and that's not reported. So we're on a little bit of a double standard on that, number one. Number two, we are still, very pleased with our position in sports, and the audience isn't going away at all. It's sliding to different places, consuming in different ways. And I would tell you, some other leagues that have 30% drop-offs, they didn't lose 30% of their audience from one moment to the next. That audience is just sliding and consuming in some different ways. Our digital consumption is off the charts. And I want to tell you a little something. I watched the other day, as an example, I'm a sports fan, so I watched a Duke Blue Devils game after they had played, in like a 6 or 7 minute recap of the game. But it was pretty good. Or it was maybe a little longer than that. And so I didn't watch the game on TV, but I watched it fairly intense with my laptop. So things are happening and sliding and going around. It'll all work out. Sports, in the end, us included, will always have a huge, big audience. So whether ratings are sliding over here, spiking at times over here, that'll all work out.
So are you happy with the health of the sport, and what do you
I'm
see
happy
as
with the
your
health of the
biggest
sport.
challenge?
Would I obviously like to have, everything perfect, and of course I would. But that's sports, and that's a competitive business, and the model is changing a little bit too. Not in a maybe not even in a way that we wouldn't like to see. So we're pleased with the health of the sport. The facilities that are getting improved and working are good. So.
Okay, a couple more questions. Claire B. Lang, and then Chris Knight.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. What you're talking about right now kind of revolves around the question I was going to ask. Years ago, we started having stories about NASCAR, that fans were watching it in new ways, that leagues, how to better entertain fans, making sporting events more exciting by changing rules. All of that years ago was all revolved around NASCAR in the media. Now we're seeing the NFL, ratings drop, they're looking at new rules, NBA. Do you think NASCAR was ahead of the game in all of this?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they've been working on their things too, and I think there's a lot of changes going on. A lot of changes in entertainment. Period. Right? You got prime time is very different now than it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You've got Netflix as an example. You've got all kinds of things that are changing in the media world, and we're, the interest level and the in sports in general is still the best of anything that's available, as it was 5 or 10 years ago. Maybe it's changing around, but it's still the best. We're in there in a significant way.
Okay, Chris Knight.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Brian, I was just wondering if, after what we've seen this weekend, if you could assess adding the chase to the NASCAR Cramping World Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, and then your thoughts on the caution clock, if it's done what it's intended to.
I obviously love it. I love to see what I saw last night and Friday night, for that matter. And we think those other ideas are still yet to be determined if they're transferable or working just how we want them. But so far, so good. We're very pleased with the formats. Wouldn't change a thing. You saw the result of it is this, is the net better racing that our fans get to see. That's the benefit of the format, not just because we're trying to do different things. We're trying to do things that make the racing better and bring out the best in our drivers and our teams. And that's what this does. And go back a year ago for the Xfinity Series. You had, and I don't fault them, but you had the winner and the champion and a couple others talk about all they needed to do was, you know, finish the race. If I ran 30th, I'll be okay. Well, that's not really great for, you know, great competition. No, go speed it up to this year. You had all four, 1, 2, 3, 4, thinking they better win the race. Forget about finishing. That's a big deal for auto racing. And we're bold enough to do that. I mean, anywhere in the world, that doesn't always happen. And our drivers have been great because it requires a different mindset to compete at this level. And they're up to it. And they may have had some reservations early on, but they're up to it. So it's great.
We'll take one more from Zach Albert here in front.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. Brian, there were driver participation guidelines issued just a couple of weeks ago for Xfinity and Truck Series, limiting Sprint Cup drivers participating in those series. Why do you think it was important to do that now, and what do you feel like the net effect
Well,
is
you
gonna
saw
be?
it. I think you saw it because, Cup drivers obviously were able to, compete, in events, but you saw the championship get settled down to the series participants. So I think it worked perfectly, and we had talked about it for a long time. I'm glad we did it, and it got a very worthy champion in Daniel Suarez. So, and it fit perfectly with our chase format too, by the way. So it worked on a lot of different fronts. Thank you all. One last thing, and I'll say this in the drivers' meeting too, and we'll wish the Sprint folks really well as they leave us after this event. And they've been a really good partner for 12 years, and we do appreciate everything they've done. And and thank you all for everything you've done too. I know this is a hard, long sport to cover, and it's weekends and difficult. And so, we don't thank you enough for the effort you do. I don't love everything that you guys write and say, but I suppose I'm not the only sports executive to say that. But nonetheless, thank you all for everything, and have a great holiday season once we're completed. See many of you in Las Vegas. Thank you all.
Thank you.